Exercise 2C, page 48. You will hear part of an interview with Colin Fraser, a psychologist, about cultural identity. For questions 1 to 5, choose the answer A, B, C, or D, which fits best according to what you hear.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the programme. Later, we'll be speaking to community leader Jacqueline Epping about efforts to incorporate the wide diversity of residents in her area. But up first, we have psychologist Colin Fraser, who is going to give us an insight into why this incorporation is both necessary and beneficial. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Now, Colin, you're a bit of a mixed bag, aren't you? You were born in Canada, grew up in Scotland, and now you reside in the States. So, if we're talking about cultural identity, what identity do you relate to?
I've also lived in England and France, and you're right that I wasn't born in Scotland, but my parents and my siblings were. In fact, my heritage goes back a number of years in that country, so even though I'm not Scottish by birth, I would have to say that I identify predominantly with the Scottish culture. Having said that, though, I think I've managed to incorporate aspects of each of the cultures I've been exposed to.
So, what makes you predominantly Scottish?
Oh, that's not an easy question to answer. There are so many facets that make up a person's identity that I don't think there's one physical factor that I could point to, and it's difficult to categorize culture. Some might say it's determined by birth, but I think that's too simplistic. There's more to it than that, but without going to particulars, I would have to say I just feel Scottish. And that, to me, is what's important. I feel a sense of belonging, even when I'm not there. I went to a Highland Games recently in America. You know, the outdoor event with lots of kilts and caber tossing. It was great. Watching all the athletic events and dancing was an amazing sensation. Even though it was a long way from Scotland, while I was there, I just felt at home. As soon as the mass pipe band started playing, I was transported to what I consider my homeland. And that's key. Home is where the heart is, as they say.
But how can a Highland Games in America make you feel at home if home is thousands of miles away?
Because it's not about the country, it's the culture. Some of the biggest games are in Canada and America, and they're a testimony to the importance of cultural identity. They were born of the people who emigrated from Scotland to those countries, people who kept their cultural roots alive and passed them down through the generations. The strength of their ties stayed with them, even as they were absorbed into another culture. Some people might suggest that clinging to a bygone practice of cultural heritage is obsolete in today's global society. But I think it is now in particular, with the interconnectedness of society, that the importance of knowing who you are and where you come from becomes paramount. There must be a way of discerning oneself from the masses.
But wouldn't that alienate a person from the culture they reside in?
On the contrary. In the global community, culture has to be accommodating. If it excludes newcomers, they will separate themselves from the indigenous population, and that's when you get fractures in society, splinter groups of isolated people, which can lead to conflict. In order to avoid this, both the interloping and the native culture have to accept each other. There's give and take, as with any symbiotic relationship. But that doesn't mean abandoning your roots. It's not just about how you see yourself, but how the rest of the world views your culture. If your culture translates well, you're in luck. You can go anywhere, just being yourself. And when you know yourself, the ability to accept others for who they are becomes much simpler. You can appreciate their idiosyncrasies with greater ease.
Module 3. 3D. Listening Skills. Exercise 2, page 34. You will hear a radio interview in which a choreographer, Alice Reynolds, discusses a dance program. For questions 1 to 5, choose the answer A, B, C, or D, which fits best according to what you hear.
Good morning, listeners, and welcome to Window on the World. Today, we're continuing our segment on communication. Yesterday, we took a look at music and the way in which we express ourselves through song. Now, we're going to delve into something that's very closely related, and that is the medium of dance. With us in the studio is Alice Reynolds, a choreographer who has worked with the London Ballet and the Royal Ballet School and is running a project with the local youth center to encourage teenagers to express themselves through dance. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Why don't you tell our listeners something about what it is you do?
Well, as you said, I'm a choreographer. I've worked with some amazing dancers through the years, and it's always struck me how well emotions can be portrayed through movement. Even when simply loosening up at a rehearsal, the dancers showed how they were feeling. Dance has been around for centuries. Human cultures have used it throughout that time as a means of communication in ceremonial rites and celebrations, as well as entertainment. So we decided to put this unique ability to communicate to good use in helping young people express themselves.
In what way?
It can be difficult for people, especially young people and teenagers, to talk about how they feel. There can be a number of reasons for that. They may be shy or just simply not be able to find the appropriate words. But for those that can't find their voice, dance offers a way of getting those feelings out. Whether they are feelings of anger, love, remorse, it doesn't matter. Dance allows you to express these emotions in a positive way instead of keeping them locked away. And we've found that once you can express yourself through movement, it's easier to open up verbally.
Teenagers are not exactly known for their communication skills.
No, they can be quite socially awkward. But that's another side to the dance program we run. It forces them to interact, and by the end of it, they usually come out of their shells. Also, because we don't suppress emotions, we let them loose. They're forced to deal with whatever is ailing them, any anxieties they may have. It can be quite cathartic. It's almost a form of therapy, but without the therapist. It offers a level of freedom unlike anything else. Afterwards, the children seem to be more emotionally well-balanced.
So do you think it would work for anyone?
Of course. When I worked with professionals, I noted that through their training, no matter what type, they had learned to express their emotions but not betray their personalities. With the teenagers, it was the opposite. We can already see their personalities, but their emotions are suppressed. It was this insight that showed me how effective this venture could be. Our work with them is designed to bring those emotions out for all to see, and they are recognizable emotions. Dancing conveys subtle messages about what people are thinking and feeling that other people can read. After all, communication is a two-way street. This ability to read these messages is an inherent human trait that has its roots in our evolutionary history. The power of movement to tell a story is quite exceptional.
I suppose there are certain types of people, personalities, that take to dance. Find it easy to get up and let loose?
Actually, it's not whether someone will dance or how well they dance that's determined by their personality, but rather how they dance. There was a study conducted to see if you could tell a person's personality from the way they moved, and the findings were emphatically yes. It seems we can't hide who we are when we dance. Be we an extrovert, neurotic, conscientious, open-minded or agreeable, it all comes out on the dance floor. Having said that, certain personalities are better able to convey emotion without assistance.
I wonder what my dancing would show. Probably just that I should really have some classes. Well, thank you for taking the time to come in and talk to us.
Thank you for asking me.
If that has got any of you wanting to put on your dance shoes,